ran a restaurant, which I did for 4 years. I started by going to cooking school. Then I did every job. I was a busboy. I was a line cook. I fucking hosted. I bartended. So that when I finally was in full manager mode, I was like, yeah, I can do your job. I may not do it as well as you, but I know what's involved. And having that knowledge just helps you be better at running the thing.
Okay, hey everyone, we are here with another episode of the Robert Patton Global Podcast. We're at Skankfest in Las Vegas. I'm here with Ralph Sutton, president of Gas Digital Networks. He's running this operation. He's having a good time. Thank you for joining me.
I agree with the first part, running it. I don't know if I'm having a good time, but yes. And I would go with president, no, but business partners. Me and Lewis are co-owners, but we don't have the hierarchy structure of president or vice president. Are you president of SHEATH?
I'm the CEO of SHEATH.
Yeah.
So I'm running the show. I make all the decisions. You guys make the decisions together then?
Collaboratively. Yeah, I would say that we often disagree, but I'd say thankfully more often we agree. So it depends on the thing. And we have like a deal with each other that if it's something that's going to cost the company over $1,000, we have to have a discussion.
Wow.
Anything below that, we can get away with like making an impulse decision if we think it's the right thing for the company and discuss it later.
Okay. Yeah, I don't ask anybody anything. If it's over $10,000, I do have a business partner, my brother. He's like 20% owner. Shout out Matt. But I pretty much make all these decisions because it's on the fly, and you know.
Very often it's on the fly, and Lewis is hard to reach.
Yeah.
And even harder to get a response out of. So there are times where I will just make those decisions. We actually we're about to launch a new website, a new app, a new OTT platform. Like this whole thing, it took me months, and I would say 6 months of trying to get the right company. And I didn't bring him along the ride at all until I'm like, look, I'm going to sign this deal tomorrow. You need to meet these people and make sure you're okay with it, or we got to find somebody else. And he met him. He's all right. We're fine. So let's go.
What is this OTT? What is
OTT,
that?
over the top, is a term in the media industry for like Roku or the Samsung app or anything that's coming to the television.
Yes.
They say OTT, like over the top of the platform. So meaning like it's not part of Samsung. It's an app running on top of the Samsung TV. Or what is it? A Sling is another one. Right. They all have their own little programs that you can do to bring Gas Digital to any device that you're using.
That'd be great, because I was just on louisck.com, and I wanted, I watched that movie with Joe List that he made, but I would have liked to have been able to do an app on my Apple TV.
Right. So it's been. I mean, I would say, Jesus, it's been 6 months, and I've probably met with 5 companies.
Okay.
And each time we get to the finish line, it's like, oh, you guys can't do audio? You left that out. We've been talking about that forever. Or oh, you can't do whatever it is, right. And then we'd have to stop. Or one company sent us a bill, like a proposal. I had an amount in my head that I'd say on the high end would be like the most we'd be willing to spend. And without saying numbers, it was about 8 times that.
Oh my God.
I was like, are you guys fucking serious right now? And so we wasted a lot of time. And I told them my budget ahead of time. And then they came in with an 8 times the budget thinking we would just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure you get that shit all the time.
You never, it's like, you out of your mind. You've like overstepped the limit, I guess. Like some people need to come back down to earth.
Right. I did something so shitty though, because I felt like they wasted so much of my time.
Oh my God.
So I told them like a bunch of tweaks that I wanted. Say, do all this and resend me the submission and we'll see. Knowing I had no interest. I just wanted them to waste time like I've been wasting time. So they did the whole thing, came back to me 2 weeks later, said, that's too much. That's
hilarious. I mean, how did real quick. So Gas Digital Network is the website where.
So here's how I look at it. Gas Digital, the company, is a parent company for about 4 subsidiaries, right? There's Gas Digital Network, which is the 22 shows on our network, 36 hours of entertainment every week. We have a subscription plan for premium entertainment or content, and all the shows go out with commercials to make a secondary revenue stream. Then there's podcastmerch.com, which sells t-shirts, hats, mugs, and shit like that. There's NYC Podcasting, which does rentals, which was just born out of the fact that we were spending so much time allowing people to rent and use our studios. It just made sense to set up NYC Podcasting, the SEO alone, And at one point pre-pandemic, we were paying our rent on rentals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we lost it all after the
It's
pandemic.
like studio time, like rappers used to rent a studio.
Yeah, exactly. And if you have 35 hours of entertainment, that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's one snippet of it. And we have 2, soon to be 3 studios. So we'll have empty studio space. There's no reason not to put Natalie to work if there's no shows happening. And then the fourth company we call the ad side, which was a name I just jokingly called it because we always referred to. Am I out of frame now when I lean back, or are we okay? Okay. When you got to sell ads for not only shows on our network, but shows off network, I'd say, that's an ad side question, like not a production question, it's an ad side question. So we call that company the ad side, and we have everyone we were selling ads for Mike Tyson, for Barbara Corcoran.
Bridget Fedesi, I know I got her through,
and then so we have maybe 20 shows off network and the 22 on. Same thing with podcast merch. We have probably 15 or 20 merch platforms that are off network, and then podcasts that are on. And then that's just how the company happens. So Gas Digital is the parent, network, podcast merch, NYC Podcasting, ad side. They all have their own people that kind of subsidiarily run those 4 arms of Gas Digital.
You're just raking in that dough.
Yeah, sometimes not. But podcast merch is not a moneymaker. The others are doing okay.
Yeah. But I was thinking the behind the paywall side of Gas Digital, is that part of what you were? Is that's on the Gas Digital?
Yeah,
thing?
So that was our original concept. So both Lewis and I were doing our own podcasts, right? Mm-hmm. He had 2. Actually, I think he had 3 at the time. He was doing an MMA podcast called Hammer Fisting, that is no more, Real Ass Podcast, and Legion of Skanks. I was just doing the SDR show, but I was doing my radio show at the time. And the idea I always thought of was my radio show was on 95, 100 stations, all medium size to small size. But you put 100 of them together, we had 500,000 people listening every week.
Damn.
You can make good money that way. Any one of those stations you can't live off of, but put 100 together and you can make good money. So at the time, let's say SDR had, 5,000 listeners. I'm just making it up. Mm-hmm. And Lewis's show, Rap, was about the same. Legion was on a contract with another network. I said, we should just do the network.
Fuck yeah.
Same idea, syndication, like-kind shows instead of like-kind stations, and sell it as a package. Originally, we were going to do an actual lounge. We called it The Pod, where podcasts would be broadcasting live and you can watch them, and there'd be alcohol and stuff like that, and it would be a network. That was the original concept, but space in New York City was too much, so we just dialed it back to just be a studio.
Okay, and I was just wondering about the behind the paywall thing, because you make most of the money off ads. We pay for ads on the network, and we've been SHEATH underwear. You guys know what the deal is.
I'm wearing them right now.
Me too. And we're selling them out here. I appreciate all the love we've been getting. All the guys, like some guy walked up to me right when I walked in. He was like, "Are you General Robert Patton?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." That's
cool. That's awesome.
It made me feel good. So people know who we are. They know, who I am, I guess. And your broadcasting is working and helping getting our product out into the masses.
Cool. Glad to hear
the Legion.
To the Legion of Skanks. So with regards to the paywall, when we started it, I think it's 6 years ago now. I could be wrong when the network first started. I want to say it was 2015, so almost 7 years ago. There wasn't a Patreon, really. There wasn't these, now, Instagram allows you to do subscriptions. YouTube allows you to do subscriptions. Nobody was doing that 7 years ago, right? And we had the idea of, let's let, at the time, 10 episodes, not 20, out for free. And then if you pay a subscription, you get access to all of them. You get access commercial free. You get access to live chat, forums, HD video, and thought that would be a great way to not only augment the ad sales, but God forbid the shit hits the fan with an ad sale week like COVID, amazingly, we were able to keep the doors open because we can pay the bills. We're not rolling in the dough, but we could pay the bills on subscribers.
Right.
So as long as that happens, it gives us the comfort and the ability to take chances sometimes because of the fact that we know we have that subscriber money coming in.
When you were coming up with this idea to start this network, did you have any reservations?
Oh, yeah. Look, to be honest, I did not realize how overwhelmingly occupying of my time it would be, right? If we were to go back 7 years ago, I honestly don't know if I would start the network. It is what it is. It started in my house. We had 4 shows. 3 of them were on a Monday, and mine was on Wednesday. So one day of the week sucked. One day of the week, there were people in my house.
Yeah.
You know, and that was it. And then the rest of it was fine. And then one day I came home on a date. We had 10 shows at that time. And it was like 11 o'clock at night. No one was supposed to be there. And I bring a first date girl home to 11 dudes in a room. She thought she was going to get gang raped for sure. And she did. No, but she's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, guys, what the fuck? And I was like, oh, we decided to do an extra episode. Like, yeah, but you got to fucking tell me. The girl left. It ruined the date. And I called Lewis the next day and said, if we don't find a studio soon, I'm going to have to shut it down. Because they were doing things like, they would break things and not tell me. Instead of saying, oops, I broke something. One time, this is so crazy, they broke the blinds in my studio, like 2 of the slats. And they didn't throw it in the garbage because I'm OCD. They thought, oh, he's going to look in the garbage. So they hid it behind something and hoped I would never notice it.
Yeah.
You know, so things like that is why we had to move to a studio.
Probably not cleaning the toilet.
Right.
Shit.
No, none of that. It was horrible. Yeah. Leaving the water running and then leaving.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, what the fuck? Because I was in a rush. How much of a rush you in that you can't turn off the fucking water?
Fridge doors open.
Oh, drinking my alcohol. Like, and I was like, dude, I know you finished my vodka. You know, whatever. But so it is quite overwhelming. You know, just the day-to-day now. Because if you factor in not just staff, like, you know, the engineers, producers, whatever, and then with each facet has their own staff, the ad sales guys, the whatever. Then you have hosts. Mm-hmm. All in all, it's about 100 people.
I was just about to ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
If 10% of them have a problem a week,
oh my God,
that's 10 people a week.
That's
a
probably
lot
a good
of people.
week. No, I'm just kidding.
So it's crazy. Like when I was and I don't mean to be so behind the curtain, but who gives a shit?
I appreciate it.
I went away for 2 weeks. The Monday before the 2 weeks, we have an in-person meeting every the second week of every month. Every Monday we have a meeting. Second week of every month, you got to come in the studio. Everyone needs to have FaceTime with each other because it's so Zoomy these days, right?
Right.
And I left, and I remember calling my brother and saying, wow, sometimes I leave feeling great at these meetings. There was like, everyone was in a good mood. There was like creative ideas going back and forth. The place looked clean. I was like, this is great. I felt great. And I went away for 2 weeks. I came back 2 weeks later, and 4 days in a row, 4 different grown men, and I'm not going to say if they were hosts or whatever, called me crying, literally crying.
Wow.
For different issues related to podcasts or merch or Gas Digital or an employee or a host. I was like, what the fuck happened? It was 2 weeks ago. Everyone was happy.
That's why I said you're the president, because I feel like they come to you. I don't know that they go to Lewis necessarily.
I think they go to Lewis is the more fun boss.
Right.
He also is, no one is better on earth than Lewis at promotion and sales, like that whole thing, but B, rallying people. There's, I don't know, 3,000 people here that would assault a person right now if he asked them to. Yeah. Go steal that cop from that gun. All right, dude, and he'd go do it. That's what no one, Jay doesn't have that. Dave doesn't have that. You know, maybe Dave.
Dave is fucking going on a big
but
group
that's
of
a
people.
it's a different animal.
Yeah.
You know,
he's like, vote for me.
Yeah, it's a different animal. But I'm saying no one rallies troops. These people who put in 70-hour work weeks, they're not doing it for me. They're doing it for him.
Well, and he's traveling, doing shows, and
he's only getting bigger. Yeah, it's amazing to see his comedy growing along with the network.
Offend Everyone tour.
Yeah, him and Ehrenberg.
I was
great.
just there in Colorado Springs. He came to see it, and he's that. Having the face is like I guess he's like the face of the network.
He is, and most people just think that, which is not true, but that I'm the money guy, that I just put up the money and do nothing. Right. And if that's what they want to believe, that's fine. You know, but this whole network was started on nickels and dimes. You know, I built the first website. You know, I figured out how to build a studio. We did everything, yourself. Trial and error myself. I built the computer.
Slowly kind of delegate it out and have experts that actually know what they're doing, redo it, make it better over the
That's
years.
why we're about to finally. The problem with our website was that it was built on, I mean, I don't mind saying it, on WordPress, which is a free platform.
Yeah.
Sure, a lot of companies, but it's not made for what we're doing.
What are you going to use now?
We're having a whole thing custom built.
Okay. We just did this headless thing. I don't know if you've heard of headless, but we have Shopify, but headless, it has its own servers so that when you go to the website, it preloads all the other pages. So once they click to product, it's instant.
So there is a lot of those that do that. The problem with those that you have to ask yourself, it's different with product pages. How often are they caching and loading to those servers? Because if we upload a show And it's even if it's
Oh my
once an
God.
hour,
Yeah.
those people are like, well, where the fuck is that show? The show ended an hour ago. Why is it not on the website? So that's the thing we've had. The problem is a company also that does it called Cloudflare that we use. And we had to talk them into reducing the time that they reload the cache because it would piss people off.
Yeah.
So you have to know that when that show is uploaded, nobody's waiting an hour and a half for it to populate on their local servers.
Yeah, I don't know about all that.
Yeah, I mean, as I deal with all this shit, I've self-taught everything. You know, I built my computers by going to the school of Google and YouTube. You know?
Yeah, we had to figure it all out as we went along. Am I right? Yeah. So I mean, we're both like entrepreneurs, I guess.
Yeah, is this your first company?
I sold weed and stuff like that back in the day. And
Your first legal company?
Yeah, pretty
That's cool.
much. No,
How old are you?
44.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I got out of the army and pretty much I had the idea when I was in Iraq on my second tour.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you had hot balls?
Hot balls in the desert.
It does seem now that that's the go-to answer for a lot of underwear companies that are all trying to do this. I don't know if I don't know if you were the first, but you certainly seem like we were the first.
Yeah.
Did you get a patent on it? But
We are
can't.
patented. I mean, it's pending still, and my attorney said it might be 10 years.
Is it a patent on the separation, or is it a
Yes.
patent? So can you go after all these companies that are mocking it?
They're doing different levels. Like they have, I'm not trying to get in illegal battles.
Okay.
And competition is good. It brings more awareness to this type of style of underwear. Because like at first people were like that's gay or something, you know, like fucking.
Well, I
nobody
was fucking the hole for the penis. That is gay.
It is, but it feels good.
I never put my hole through the penis, not long enough. I just say it's comfortable without that last step, and my penis doesn't. My soft penis is a Jew penis. It doesn't do that.
Perfect. And I
Excited,
started off.
Natalie, to hear that?
It started off as just a single pouch. I had some inspiration to add the dual pouch, but I barely use the dual pouch.
Right,
So-
and it doesn't. But honestly, even no pouch. Like I tell people, you'll be comfortable in the underwear. It doesn't matter. You don't have to say, "Oh, I put my balls to shrink up to my body." Just wear the underwear. It doesn't fucking matter. It's comfortable.
Thank you, Ralph Sutton. You're the man. Yeah, just try them out. You know, whatever, and go listen to some of these podcasts. I feel like you guys get a bad rap for being like dirty comic or like a dirty comic network, but it's fucking funny.
Not only so, here's the funny thing. I forget. I don't want to plug them anyway. But one of these websites that are big did a whole write-up on our network that we were an alt-right network, right?
Yeah.
And why? Well, unfortunately, or how you want to look at it, at the time, the top 4 or 5 shows were all hosted by mostly white dudes, you know? So even though Lewis is Puerto Rican, he's like half Puerto Rican, right? So the Legion was one of them. Part of the problem, Bisbing, SDR, and I forget which other one, but let's say all 5 of them were hosted by white dudes, right? So it's an all alt-right network. So before we even go down the line further, let's start with Lewis, Puerto Rican.
Right.
Dave and Jay are Jewish, or Jay's half Jewish. I'm Middle Eastern and Jewish, right? So my father's from Syria and Jewish. But then we have shows on the network. So right there, we're already done.
We're all mixed.
Right.
I'm fucking
all mixed up.
Yeah.
Right? But then we have shows. At the time, we had a trans show. We had we have several shows hosted by black dudes. We have a couple of shows hosted by chicks. So how alt-right could we possibly be? It's not my fault that the top 5 shows were hosted by white dudes. That's just what happened.
Yeah, because there's how about the fact that the majority of people in America are white dudes or whatever?
Is that true? I don't know if that is anymore. Is that true?
Well, I don't even know, but it's a large population and probably a lot that listen to.
I also think it's the largest population of podcast listeners. That's probably what it is right now for sure. And America also is the largest population of podcast listeners.
My dad used to listen to talk radio, AM talk radio. So every time we went anywhere, we're listening to like Rush Limbaugh and these different AM 640 radio shows in California. And so I just carried on.
Yeah, that's what it is. My dad listens to 1010 Wins. That's all he listens to. Nothing else.
Yeah. So I love that now you can listen to when you want to.
Yeah.
You can be mowing the lawn or whatever.
I do miss, if I'm being honest, there's nothing that compares to live, no do-over radio with rules.
Why?
Because the rules put you on edge. Someone's coming in studio. Are they going to curse? Is a caller going to curse? Am I going to have to hit the dump button?
Okay.
It only happens once.
Makes it a little more exciting.
A little more exciting. Is the guest going to show up late and we have to retool the whole show?
Right.
Because that would happen sometimes too. And whatever was said was heard once, never again. So either you were there for it or you just had to hear about it after the fact. I'm like, fuck, I missed that.
And they can't clip it and
you can't.
use
There
it
wasn't. It
against
didn't
you.
exist.
Yeah.
It's like you're maybe too young to know who this band was. There's a very famous 90s rock, like gothic rock band called Typo Negative, right?
Okay. Yeah. No.
And me and the singer were friendly, and he co-hosted my radio show once. He came in high on something, and we started screaming and yelling at each other on air. He threw his headphones at me. He was a big dude. He's like my height, but like in really good shape. And he wanted to fight me. He's let's fucking go outside. And this is all live on air.
Nice.
And that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
No one can hear that again.
Yeah.
I wish I had it, but it just doesn't exist. And that part of it is I miss that. I miss that live energy.
So you were in like live radio then? For how long?
For 18 years.
Okay.
And my show was on all over the country. For the first like 10 or 12 years, we were syndicated live, but then it became too expensive to do it live because I don't want to bore you with it, but a certain satellite fell out of the sky and they introduced a new satellite and the leasing time was like 5 times as much. So we went to digital delivery.
Okay.
But at the first 12 years was as it happened and no do-overs.
I feel like you guys have not necessarily started the careers of some podcasters. But
Oh, yeah. I mean, Tim Dillon, I'll use him as
Michael Malice.
But Tim Dillon, which was wild, is I did a show, I think they're still around. They were a really popular podcast years ago called Keith and the Girl, right?
Okay.
It was really big. I don't know if they still are. I haven't followed their careers, but it was like, oh shit, Keith and the Girl was like one of the first big podcasts. And I did it, and some dude next to me is on it, and it's Tim Dillon. We had just started the network, and we only had 4 shows, and we were looking for a 5th. And I just loved his energy.
Me too.
After the show was done, we started talking food, and we got on topics of some sandwich. I forgot what it was, and it was right by my house. I said, come, I'll get you a sandwich, and I want to show you our home studio. And as we're doing it, I called Lewis and said, dude, I think I found somebody that would be great to do a podcast with. And he goes, oh, it's funny. I think I found somebody.
No way.
And I'm like, oh, well, he goes, Tim Dillon. He goes, it was Tim Dillon. So we both indirectly met him around the same time and wanted to do a podcast with him.
He's got that star energy.
Oh, he's great. And he's also just like he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
I
just saw him in the green room. He was like, Robert, he shook my hand,
Yeah.
Gave a dab. And I'm kind of starstruck from everyone here.
Oh, that's funny.
But
That's funny.
everyone, so I don't want to like overstep and be like, let's hang out.
You
But
should respond when you see someone and say, look, man, I pay your fucking bills.
That's a good
Show some
point.
respect.
Yeah, bow down,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
that's how you should do it. Yeah. Maybe spit on them, let them know.
I'll kick him in the shins. Oh, that's funny. So, like, all these people are here, and like this
Yeah.
event.
The weird thing is this for me. I'm not a comic. Very obvious from this interview. And I don't have the platform that these guys do. Like, most of them start a podcast. Why? To sell something. You, Sheath Underwear, them seats at a venue.
Mm-hmm.
Me, it was for the love of doing shows.
Honestly, I love doing it also. Continue.
Yeah. But the question is, would you have even started it if you weren't selling your underwear?
Was doing them in 2012. I was just thinking about that this morning. I feel like I've been doing it longer than a lot of these other
that's funny. I know,
podcasters.
that's cool. That's nice.
It did stem from Joe Rogan,
Right.
and he was like, you should do a podcast. You should do it to all these other people. And it's an exercise in communication.
Yeah, for sure.
And you get to know someone, you get to turn off your phone, the whole drill.
Yeah, I agree, but it's a different animal here for me. This is first and foremost a Legion of Skanks and Comedians podcast, and I'm very well aware of my place in the zeitgeist of that world. So I am ancillarily enjoying it, but I'm here, for like put out little fires here and there when there are, because I'm right off air, we were dealing with something, right? So that's what I'm really here for, and just to make sure there's nothing that's irreparable damage that can happen. But I don't get the joy out of it as much as everyone else. I'm happy they are. I come from hosting rock festivals and things like that for years. And so I've been through this a million times. I'm just happy to see my joy is watching everyone else have such a good time. This is the first time I'm staying for the whole show. Like, I've been here from Friday to Monday, where normally I just come in for a day and a half just to make sure everything's fine.
I don't think people, I forgot that they had the day before event, like night of comedy.
Thursday.
Exactly.
But also, most of my staff came here Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
And they'll all be here till Tuesday or Wednesday. It's a week for them. And I try to like I was carrying shirts and yearbooks and shit like that. Whatever needs to be done, that's what I'll be here for.
Exactly.
Right? I'm not going up on stage. I'm doing one SDR, maybe, and that's it.
Well, I mean, the fact that you're willing to get down and dirty with your employees and work, I think that sends like a message that, like if I'm willing to do it, motherfucker, you better not.
See you when next time Lewis throws out the garbage. Am I right, Natalie?
Yeah. See, you're humble. You're not like barking at them and giving orders from your office. And
I try. Yeah. By the way, just like also, I think not so much anymore because I've been out of it. But for the first, let's say 4 years, I could do every job here as good, if not better than everyone. Mm-hmm. I taught everyone how to use all the software. Also with the ad sales department, I came from syndicated radio ad sales, so I knew all the ad companies. I knew the bullshit that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
So I helped with Robbie and Jimmy on how we set that up because I came from that background in syndicated radio sales.
Yeah, that's not easy to
it's
figure
the
out.
same thing. We deal with, at the time it was called TSL, time spent listening, the AQH, which is the average quarter-hour listenerships, and all these things that ad sales guys give a fuck about. So we would curtail our presentation packages to speak that language because podcasting was so new. And actually, most of the first ad sales came as added value to the SDR, to my radio show, the Tour Bus at the time. I said, hey, put in an extra 10% and we'll throw you on the podcast network. That's how we started getting ads originally.
Yeah.
So I knew how to do all of it, build all the computers, do all that shit. But I would say now, like, Natalie's definitely a better engineer than I am. Most of them are better podcast producers than I am. But I wanted to be able to do everything so I could say I know how to do your job. When I ran a restaurant, which I did for 4 years, I started by going to cooking school. Then I did every job. I was a busboy. I was a line cook. I fucking hosted. I bartended. So that when I finally was in full manager mode, I was like, yeah, I can do your job. I may not do it as well as you, but I know what's involved. And having that knowledge just helps you be better at running the thing.
I mean, like when you were a young boy type thing, did you have like this type of aspiration? What were you?
No, well, I always wanted to be in entertainment. Yeah, I wanted to do radio. That was my goal.
Nice.
Very, very young.
Yeah.
Or like hosting. I remember when I was really young, I was watching Regis Philbin.
Yeah.
And he said he always knew he was kind of funny. He was could talk to people, but he didn't want to be a comedian. He didn't know where his wheelhouse was.
He was funny.
And he was funny.
Yeah.
But he was a great host, you know? So I remember hearing that when I was like 12. I was like, I want to fucking be a host, you know? So that's where that came from. And
I wanted to be in the NBA.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I talk about that a lot in my health show, which is that the best thing in the world, which happens for maybe less than 1% of the people, is that your passion, what you're good at, and what you make money at usually are three different things. If they all align, that's unbelievable. But if you are crazy passionate about basketball and you're really good at it, but you're 5'2",
yeah,
you're never going to make money at it because that's just the reality of it.
I was really passionate, but I also was not very good at it. But here's the thing that was interesting, and I tell I had to work so hard just to like be average, just to make the B team, that I feel like I developed this very strong work ethic that then carried over into like careers. I went into the Army, and even in the Army, I had, I'm a short, average white dude, but I pushed myself.
That should be the name of this festival, by the way.
I'll be the star. I'll be the whatever. I'm representing the people, but it carried over into the Army, and then now I'm doing this, and I feel like I'm the hardest worker.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, also I'm older now, I would say like when we first opened, I was first in, last out for that first 2 or 3 years of the network. It's not the case anymore. I don't want to say burned out, but like I just needed to take a step back to start appreciating it again, because I felt like I was living and breathing it a bit too much for a bit too long. And the past year, I slowly trickled out a little bit. And I'm going to start trickling back in. I needed a break, or I wasn't going to be the kind of person that I wanted to be at work. So I needed to take a step back.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on Sober October right now, but sometimes I'll take mushrooms, and it will that's when you take the time to sit back, or it just kind of happens and you kind of realize all the shit that's happened, because I never stopped to appreciate how far we've come.
By the way, again, I live and breathe with the idea of living in the moment and appreciating. I laugh to myself almost daily about how fucking lucky I am right now. You know, that this entire network is created by us spewing shit out of our mouths. And that's how we're all funding ourselves. And the fact that we're here, or that whatever it is, I truly every day take time to realize how lucky I am. Right?
Do you like prepare or write, for any of your shows?
SDR. Yeah. Well, both of my shows, I over prepare for everything.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So SDR, like in fact, this is I don't know how much time we're.
Yeah, I was going to ask, but I didn't want.
We got like 10 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
We had a show that I had prepped for 2 months, right? Which was there's a dude at Legion of Skanks. He works for Gas Digital. He's a social media guy for Gas Digital. He's a 25-year-old. How was he? 23-year-old virgin. Right?
Oh, no.
And I said, well, this would be fucking hilarious. It's Vegas, land of escorts. Let's do a dating game, but we'll hire 3 escorts, but run it like a real dating game, and he gets laid at Skankfest.
Fuck yeah.
Right? Hilarious to me, right? and doing a good deed, right? Yeah. So it works on both levels. And we'll film him walking into his room, and then we'll film the girl leaving whenever it ends. And then,
pleasured.
And I'm sure she's not pleasured, but whatever, finished, right?
I'm just joking.
Money acquired. But the word got out that we were doing it. And then Dad Meat decided they're going to do a Find Him True Love episode, which is adjacent idea, but fine. And then on the Thursday night Legion of Skanks, I wasn't there. I don't know how it happened, but they got him. Somehow it came up that we were doing that. And Lewis decided to ruin the bit by getting him blown at Legion of Skanks.
No
right?
way.
So my 2 or 3 months of prep work went out the window, and now we don't know what we're going to do on Sunday. Like, I have nothing prepped. Like, when a band comes in, I do 8 hours, 10 hours of prep,
Like
any
what?
show that we do.
Tell me, what do you research on?
I like to watch interviews from the most recent and then watch the beginning to see how their brains have changed, right? I'll read, if there's a book they put out, I'll listen when I run. I'll listen to the whole book. Then I will watch whatever their newest albums or really, and then start figuring out what could be a unique question or an interesting avenue that hasn't been beaten to death a million times. Or if there's a story that I never heard, even if it was a well-mandated story, like a well-covered story, if I don't know it and I'm a fan, I imagine I'm not the only one that doesn't know it. So then we'll go down those paths and not know where it goes. But I usually have like a cheat sheet of about 20 topics that I may not get to all of them.
Right.
But I put them in the hierarchy of what I want to do.
Okay.
Excuse me. And I'll nudge it around as we're live, because I just use my app and just switch it around. But I try to A, really listen to what they're saying, and B, show the artist, oh, I care that you're actually fucking coming in.
Yeah.
I'm not just phoning it in. And I've had so many, musicians tell me that, they've done interviews where they could tell they were just doing it for the name or doing it for the get, as opposed to doing it because you want to actually care, you know? So I put so much time into my fucking shows.
See, I need to do better. I watched that show Hot Ones,
they do a lot of research.
I know, and I'm like, I do kind of sometimes just walk in. I mean, I was texting Robbie 20 minutes before here, like, you got any questions for Ralph?
Funny. And Robbie says, ask Ralph why he's such a dick. Then also what's funny, which has been an amazing...
So I want to do better, but continue.
A treasure trove of interesting things is reading the comments on YouTube on their popular videos. Very often, like a childhood friend comments, I knew this kid in high school, this kid took a bowling class with me, or whatever the fuck it is, and I'll make notes of that, and I'll bring that up. And they'll be like, how the fuck do you know that?
Nice.
Like, that happens a lot. Like, I had a guy on, I said that about, oh, you're still into bowling? He's like, what? Like, how did you know that? Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. See, I need to do better, but like, I'm running a company.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I usually will set a day aside, a few days before of each episode to put it all together.
Damn, the crowd's roaring down there.
Yeah,
Woo!
I think that's, I don't know what that's for. I can't tell.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up here in just a second, I guess. I was going to say this last couple things. So you're running, how much are you running?
Right now I'm up to pre-half marathon, training, which is a 6, an 8, and a 10, 3 days a week.
Nice.
And then I'm doing my half marathon a week from today in Iceland. I'm running my first international half. And if it goes well, my goal is to do 4 half marathons next year in 4 different countries. That's my goal.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
And it started from me just getting, after my pop passed about 7 years ago, I gained 80 pounds just out of misery eating and just depression for various reasons. And then nothing like tons of SDR and Gas Digital fans calling you a fat fuck for months to inspire you to say, all right, it's time to fucking start losing weight.
I don't know if you've seen this video we just put out for creating awareness for men's mental health, but this dude flew to Greenland, which is really Iceland.
Yeah, they did that. The Vikings did that. You know, they swiped the names. Yeah,
smart. And he jumped off an iceberg into 28 degrees cold water.
How could it be 28 degrees?
Because of the salt.
Oh, salt. Yeah, you can go down 28.
I know.
Right.
I asked the same thing.
That's right. No, fresh is 32. Right.
I know. Right. Yeah. And he swims to the bottom of the iceberg. Like, does this basically, he's holding it. We'll clip this in if you guys can send me this. But it's fucking amazing. And
did you think they weren't going to send you your own audio?
I was going to hope so. And the video. And yeah, right. You're just going to put it in a drawer. But, you know, it's creating, you were saying depression from your dad dying and stuff. And there's a lot of guys, probably a lot of the guys down here, you know, here for comedy to help.
Oh, yeah.
With whatever.
I only think in the past 5 years has it been okay for, and I hate to be so non-gender neutral, but for dudes to be like, you know, you were always taught, suck it up and get out there, you know, and just deal with it.
Right.
Be a man. Start,
right.
You know. But in the past, like 5 years, I've seen it where it's okay to say, oh, shit, I'm not really feeling it. Jay's openly takes antidepressants, you know. I think it's bizarre how we don't realize how food, physical and mental, all 3 of those components are interconnected. The fact that we don't think that our mental health and physical health are deeply entwined, and what we put in our body and how we treat it is deeply connected to our mental health. It fucking boggles my mind that people don't realize it, you know? And I knew it. I allowed myself to just be miserable for a while because I think by hiding it is worse. So just embrace it and be miserable. But it just it upsets me when you see people, and it's weird, like, right, I was just talking about this last night with Dante and Godfrey, right, that Lizzo is embraced as being brave as opposed to saying, hey, okay, you should love yourself, but there's something wrong here.
You're not healthy.
You're not healthy. But they'll call her beautiful and brave, where the dude that's coming to do Justin Long, what's his name? Ryan Long's podcast today, Jelly Roll, who's been on SDR, and I fucking love it, Jelly Roll. Rapper, singer, phenomenal. He's equally overweight, and no one calls him brave. You know, so why does that happen? No one's calling a fat dude brave,
right?
But they're calling fat girls brave
because it's just the stigma against men. We're like the patriarchal and all this bullshit.
So I think that we all need to look, if we're doing shit that is not good for our bodies, you're doing it because also it's not good for your brain, and you need to fucking try and change it. And the 2 books I recommend to everybody all the time is Atomic Habits. And
I'm reading that.
It's a great one. And then read Chatter. Chatter is the one that I would say everyone I told to read it has called me after and said, fucking thank you.
Wow.
Chatter's an amazing one.
I'm going to read that.
We had him on my Good Sugar podcast. And it's what I like about Chatter more than any of these others. It's a doctor with peer-reviewed testing to back up every single thing he says. Where Atomic Habits, it's great, but it is kind of anecdotal. You know, this is peer-reviewed, blind studies proving why these things work.
Chatter.
And I can't say enough good things about that book.
I'm having my team read Atomic Habits. We read one chapter a week, and on our Monday meetings, we go over the chapter, and then we start our meeting. I really want to thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was
Thanks
so
for
fun.
supporting my testicle and penis for all these years.
And thank you for helping us get the word out. Ralph Sutton, ladies and gentlemen. That's another episode of the Robert Patton Global Podcast. Thank you. We'll be back with another one. Ryan Long is next, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Thank you, sir.